The first Brit in space, nobody can ever take that away from you. It's fantastic, isn't it?
It doesn't feel like 25 years, though.
It doesn't, Helen, it really does. I mean, I remember it vividly. I was on the edge of my seat. I was so excited. It was just incredible.
And learning science and technology and living in another country and working with the cosmonauts. I mean, it was just wow. And to go into space at the end of it would be the cherry on the top of the cake, really.
Is it something that you think about a lot, that you remember a lot, that you know, that what you saw? Because you're in this kind of really incredible club, elite club of people that have seen the Earth from space.
We do have a kind of club, actually, with the Association of Space Explorers, and you can join the club if you've made an orbit of the Earth.
Wow.
But yes, there's a 500 or so people, 550 more than, have flown into space already now. So yes, there's quite a number. Some, sadly, are already dead, but more are flying, like Tim. Tim will be able to join our association. So I got on with my life and did things that I thought were possible. And then when the opportunity arises, it's one of those things that you think, you know, I might not get this again. I'm going to grab that.
Just go for it, because I can't imagine there's many young kids, boys and girls, that haven't at one point in their lives thought, I'd love to be an astronaut. It's what people say, isn't it? It's that thing that they say.
And it's kind of said ironically, but yet it is this just a fabulous thing to be able to do.
Amazing.
And apart from the training, when you're in space, you're doing things that you can't do on Earth. And you're seeing those views, and you're with people who you've trained with and who you feel really comfortable with. And there's that, because I think it's your whole life. You know, you're living your job. You really do have to live your job up there. So it's quite intense and focused.
Sure, no, very much so.
So you really do remember those kind of periods in your life.
And you must still be in touch with the men from back there, you know, the cosmonauts as well, because that bond, as you said, and that trust that you have to have, because every single one of you has to be on it all the time.
Yes.
You know?
I mean, particularly if you've got an emergency situation. So it's similar to Tim Peake. We had a problem during our docking, except we knew a bit further away. So we had to do a manual docking. But we each had stuff to do, jobs to do on board the spacecraft. But you know then that if you don't do your job right, maybe the whole thing fails, maybe everybody dies. So you really do trust each other in that. Of course, you've trained, you know what to do. So it's not, you don't have to make it up on the spot. But it does bond you, I think, very, very closely. And then because then later on you are just living together, there is no escape. So you have to get on well with each other. But you do remember those times.
No, absolutely, and especially as a woman, you know, it's different. You know, there's not going to be a boys' loo and a girls' loo. There's not going to be any of that. You just all have to muck in together. Of course you do, and that's the way it should be. Yeah. Were you ever at any time a little bit scared? Or were you just, did you not have enough time to be scared? I
don't think people are scared because the training is so good.
Of course.
And, you know, we're scared of the unknown. So if you're trained really well, although you can't do absolutely everything, you at least know how you're going to react in plan A, plan B, plan C. And you've been through so many different scenarios. You know how your commander will react if something happens. You know the kind of words to say as well. All the terminology has already been practiced, rehearsed hundreds of times. So there is no reason to be scared.
No, it's just incredible. It's absolutely, and such a pioneer as well. When you go, because I know you do a lot of work, you know, talking to young children and talking at schools, and you've written books and all of that. But it must be amazing because everybody's so excited and wants to ask you, you know, what it was like all the time. Do you ever get tired of that, or is that something that you feel privileged?
If somebody asks because they really want to know, that is the best, really.
Sure.
I've had teachers come up to me now, recent times, telling me that the reason they chose to be a science teacher is because 20-odd years ago, I visited their school and told them about space. And then they thought, you know what, science might be a bit interesting. I'll investigate that. And it was that moment that sort of turned them. And so you think, you know, you really do have an impact at some point. I'll never be able to measure that. But it's really lovely to be able to think that, you know, the kind of things that we do in terms of wanting to communicate science, and I mean by all astronauts, and it's really important to every one of us, when we get together, one of the things we will always do is try and make some sort of an outreach event, whether we're visiting schools or communities, just to talk about not just the wonder of space, but how that impacts us on Earth as well.
No, absolutely, and that's the thing, we need more scientists, especially girls. We need to encourage more women to get into science. It's very, very important. And
because it's just part of our lives. And I think if we integrate it, like other cultures do quite often, somehow in Britain, we've remained quite separatist. So the scientists are over there and the artists are over there.
Crazy,
science and culture don't really mix. But science is culture, you know. And so as long as if we can try and integrate it much more so that we are just thinking about it just as part of our lives. So when we see a headline that's a bit weird, we at least think to question it. We don't just accept what we're told. I think that's part of our democracy in the end. You know, we're voting in governments to act on our behalf. I want people to be able to question some of those the actions that governments are taking without just having to take as read what we're told.
Helen, if Tim gave you a wee call and said, get your spacesuit on and come up for a cup of tea, what would you think?
I'd say, without thinking, I'd say, thanks, Tim, you're on.
I know, wouldn't it be amazing?
We'd have to have a packet of tea, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Joy to see you. Enjoy the celebrations next week, because I know you're all going to be getting together as well. What an achievement. What an amazing achievement. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you
so much.